Welcome back to the Last Buzz Podcast, Episode 4, brought to you by nobody because we do not have a sponsor. I am your host, Glenny B, co-host, Alen Huskanovich, a.k.a. Husky, Halloween edition episode. Everyone, thank you so much. My camera is lagging. As you can tell, I am a monk. And my technology is shit. And I'm just trying to get it. There you go. I'm back from the medieval times, Alain.
Yep.
And guys, before I shoot it to Alain here, we want to apologize for the hiatus. We had a nice summer break, even though it's fall. And Alain will go into his reasons as to why we took some time off. I went to Montreal during Thanksgiving weekend. Had a nice time, and let me hear what happened to you. You died.
Exactly. So Glenn's dressed up as a monk for Halloween, and on my side, I'm a hockey player, which is fitting for this podcast. But I'm just adding protection to myself today. As Glenn mentioned, he came to Montreal, but I went to New York City with my boys to watch the Giants game, which was a terrible game after all. And basically, after lots of walking and eating lots of meat as a vegetarian on vacation, I came back home, had this soreness in my foot. Googled it a bit more, and it turns out that your man has gout. Yes, I know your uncle had gout. Yes, I know your grandfather had gout. Yes, I know your grandmother had gout. Me, a 28-year-old man who claims to be a vegetarian, should not have gout. Well, listen, we are in a world where two opposite sides collide: vegetarianism, eating meat. And listen, I made bad choices. Couldn't walk for 4 days. The mood was pretty low. Glenn was trying to get me to do a podcast. I was trying to walk. Baby steps. And now we're here today. Got my helmet on for the pod. I'm protected. The gout has nothing on me. So we're back, boys. Glenn mentioned we have no sponsor. It's definitely won't be Wave Room because Wave Room is being sent to the minors. Terrible platform. It's free to use, but it's so laggy. I might try to do something different this week and see how little cuts we can make to this podcast to see if we can flow. But yeah, Glenn, I'll shoot it back to you. How was Thanksgiving Montreal? Give me a quick recap, and then you're the show leader this week. You're telling me the subjects. We're going rapid fire, and we're crushing it.
Yeah. So as a vegan, I actually stayed true to my diet this Thanksgiving weekend. Turkey all up in my face, but I did not eat it. My big toes are fine. Alain, his feet were so sore that he actually got concussed, which is why he's wearing the helmet on today's podcast. It's a really bad one, and he can't even read the notes that I have been putting in for about a month now. That's a joke. I'm trolling Alain, but yes, my Thanksgiving weekend was great. Would have been nice to see you guys, but that's okay. You guys had a nice expensive nap at the New York Giants Stadium. And let's just go right into this episode. We're going to have some old news here. We're going to jump around like crazy to skim through it. And then next week, we're going to be back. Hopefully, no one else has gout. And we're going to be back ripping the relatively new news. So let's go back in time. The last thing we brought up was Jeremy Swayman. This guy was unsigned at the time of our last podcast, but sunk right before the fucking season started. 8 years, $8.25 million per year. He had a rekindling with the upper management, and I'm happy for him. And it sort of set like a precedence for other goalies in the league. I believe Jake Ottinger with Dallas signed the exact same term and annual average, and his ex partner Linus Ullmark, he got 4 years, but still the same amount of money per year. So, what do you think of that goalie
Yeah.
signing quick?
I find it's great. Like make them goalies get paid. I was being honestly tired of seeing Carey Price being the highest paid goalie, and did not
Yeah.
play since the last few years. So shout out to the new goalies. I think that the extra 0.25 million they want on the contract was after they heard Ninja talking about his gambling money. So he sets aside a 10% of fund money. So these keepers, they wanted their 8 million, but they
Ah.
wanted a 0.25 million for gambling money. Obviously, they can't gamble. It's a troll here, but they can buy a Lamborghini each year with the extra 2.5. So shout out to Jeremy Swayman. Shout out to the Boston Bruins. And yeah, honestly, like
Yeah.
Jake Oninger deserved more. Swayman's probably terrible. Go Habs.
Yeah. Boston's struggling. Yeah. Go Habs, go. The next thing that was in the notes was Kevin Weeks reported that Shesterkin with the New York Rangers was reportedly offered 8 years, $11 million per year, and he turned it down. That is absolute savagery. The cojones that this Russian man has is incredible. But let's face it here, he is the best player on that team, in my eyes. If it wasn't for him, they wouldn't have gotten as far as the Eastern Conference Finals last year. But do you think he's able to get $12.5 million for 8 years here with New York Rangers? Or will Chris Drury, the GM
I
of the
think.
Rangers,
Oh,
sort of adjust things and look around and be like, hey, like, do I have to maybe trade this guy away for assets? What do you think?
I think it's pretty ludicrous that he would potentially say no to such contract. Obviously, people say that he's one of the best goalies in the league. Last year, he struggled a bit during the regular season, where Jonathan Quick kind of saved the regular season. But then, yes, he did stand up on his head during the playoffs for the Rangers. I think 11 million is kind of spicy for him to say no. Maybe he thought it was Russian rubles or something. And he's like, "No, I want 15 million." And then his agent had to say, "Listen, we're talking about US dollars here." And maybe there's some confusion about like the currency not being accepted. But I'll leave it at that. I mean, maybe they'll get 12 million Canadian dollars and everyone will be happy. Him and the New York Rangers. Shout out to the exchange rate. But yeah, no, like that was pretty crazy to hear the news. I couldn't really believe it that he said no. So I'm hoping it's fake news. But honestly, Kevin Weeks has been has been on a heater lately. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's true and Shesterkin just out of his mind. Um, I'm trying to read here without my glasses to go on to the next notes. We had mentioned some PTOs turning into signings. Pacioretty with Toronto scored a few goals. Got scratched a couple games. Honestly, that's what we expect from from Pacioretty. Can you tell me about Tyson Barrie, your second favorite team now? Have you watched any games and has it been performing any well or bad?
Third favorite team. Don't forget it goes Tampa, Montreal, Calgary. But yes, he's. I
And
haven't
it's Saint
watched too much of the Flames, even though they are popping off this season. But
Shocker.
yeah, I think he's just a veteran guy in there.
Mm-hmm.
$1 million per year. Yeah, look, I have so much time to watch hockey,
For
and
one
Flames
year.
is Flames is at the bottom of that list. Let's be real. But
Yeah,
yeah,
Tyson.
man, like he's a good
Yeah,
like third pairing or sometimes second pairing. But they basically have Mackenzie Weegar and Rasmus Anderson. Those are the top two guys. And
yeah.
after that, you sort of have to balance all the lines. He's a nice veteran guy. He shows the way for these younger guys, which is great. So, yeah, moving on to another reporter. We mentioned Kevin Weeps, but Frank Saravalli,
I want to
Humpty
skip that
Dumpty,
point before
he
you go
does
too
like
far.
a.
I want to skip that point.
Oh,
He's
okay.
actually an idiot. He
Yeah,
deserves no attention, even from a podcast with such a large notoriety. Like, not even an English word, but Frank Silver. I can't even pronounce his name. The Frank dude
we
that's
yeah.
working for Daily Face Off, no free ads, great website. Terrible take. I don't even want to mention it on our podcast. He's a monk amongst other. Um, Honestly, I just reread the notes. It's ludicrous. I
It's
cannot mention
ludicrous.
that here again.
We don't
He
even
is
have
he is literally
yeah.
ludicrous. Luda.
We don't have to talk
Um,
about that. Let's move on here to a goalie goal. Philip Gustafson. Hold on, that was a horrible pronunciation. Let's move on here to Philip Gustafson, a goalie goal. Minnesota Wild absolutely snipes it when he's up 2 goals. When his team's up 2 goals up against St. Louis, he launched it, man, beautifully right between the pipes.
yep.
Unbelievable! It's so cool that a goalie is scoring in today's game. He's the first Minnesota Wild goalie to ever score a goal for the team. So that was really cool. And briefly here, because we have to bounce around, cover a lot of things, get up to date. Back a couple of weeks, Edmonton was in trouble. I think they were down like, was it 0-3? They just looked so sluggish. You know, people in Bet365 betting heavy Leon Draisaitl 3 points, McDavid 3 points, Hyman 2, nothing. These guys honestly looked horrible. And come to think of it, like going into the season, Edmonton was the Cup favorite, and then
Hmm.
early on, you see Calgary, who was like 4-0, 4-0-1 at one point. Like these guys are the better team in Alberta. Like what the hell is happening out there?
Um, Edmonton Oilers. Honestly, like I'm always gonna be shocked by the performance of that team. Every year, I believe that like Stuart Skinner is gonna pick it back up and be the goalie that he needs to be for them to go far in the playoffs. So far, it's not been the case. I think they picked it back up lately. Obviously, it's too early. Mr. Monk Glenn, can you please make a prayer um, for Stuart Skinner to remember
Yeah.
that he's playing a hockey as a goaltender and that he is 6'4" in height and not 5'3", letting those beach volleyballs go in.
Yeah.
Thank you for
And
that. Thank you for that.
Alberta boy too. Like I'm sure he's embarrassed about that, but like Witt said on the Spit and Chicklets podcast, like they're not. He's not worried about Edmonton, and already they've gotten a few wins here, but they're still looking kind of shaky. So we'll move on to Columbus Blue Jackets. Beautiful night against the Florida Panthers. The franchise decided to retire number 13, put the banner up into the rafters of the arena, and it was such a beautiful sight to see. And 13 seconds from the opening face off, they let 13 seconds go down in respect to his number, and they even left the left wing position open for him. So it was just a beautiful gesture. Quickly, like, what did you think of that?
Yeah, honestly, I thought it was a great gesture. Um, Obviously, great thing by the league, by both teams to agreeing to of doing so. Obviously, Monahan at the opening face-off, gave a quick glance at that open position on the ice and remembering one of his best friends. Obviously, ended up scoring that game, pointing at his banner at the arena. You can see the emotion that was going on into the game. Honestly, it was a great sight to see. Like, I couldn't feel happier for Monahan, for the team, for the family. Like, I remember um, his wife was mentioning that it's important to keep on cheering for the Blue Jackets because that's what Johnny would have wanted. So honestly, it was like an overall great night, beautiful moment to see, and an opening night for
Yeah,
Columbus. Um,
yeah. Moving on to my fucking favorite team, Tampa Bay Lightning. At the time that I wrote this note in the notes, Tampa was one of 3 teams that was undefeated at the time, 3-0. Let me remind you, Alain, that we replaced a bet, double or nothing, $100 for Tampa to make the playoffs. If that happens, you sauce me over a Benjamin. If it does not happen, I sauce you $100. Now that they lost a few games here and there, they're still looking decent. But what do you think will happen in the long run with this team?
what will happen in the long run is that Tampa is going to go down and miss the playoffs. The Habs will somehow sign Ivan Demidov. They're gonna get Patrick Liney back. They're gonna acquire top four right hand defensemen. That's what the rumors are. They're gonna go on a heater, and they're gonna win the Stanley Cup. It's plain as simple as that. This is not a crazy fan talking about this team. This is legitimately what's gonna happen. The Habs will make the playoffs. Tampa Bay will miss the playoffs, and I'm gonna make myself $100, double happy emotion.
Yeah, honestly, you don't really sound like a crazy fan, but moving on here. Also, shout out to the OGs. I made fun of them in our first couple episodes. I think it was the first one. Pittsburgh being the oldest team in the league.
The geezers.
Funny enough, they're not the oldest team in the league. The Edmonton Oilers are because they just signed straight up geezers. But to highlight the Pittsburgh Penguins stars that have been there for so long, Crosby, I don't know what team it was because this was like 2 weeks ago, but they won in overtime. And I think, yeah, unreal win. But Crosby had 4 points. Malkin had 4 points that game as well. And I think he reached the 700 point mark for goals. Was it goals?
I don't think it was 700 goals done. That'd be kind of crazy. That'd be passing Wayne Gretzky by a lot.
Oh, that's true.
Oh,
Hey,
I'm
as a
lying. Oh
monk,
my god,
I don't spend a lot
that's
of
not
time
true.
watching.
That's a terrible fan. That's a
Is it,
terrible fan. Terrible fan. It
it was
might have been
assists.
700 goals. It might have been no, because Malkin had
Was
to
it
score a
goals?
goal, and then he was like, "I'm very happy that Sidney Crosby gave me the assist on my goal because when he was his milestone, I give him the assist." So it's something has to do with Malkin's goals. We're not sure yet, but it was against Buffalo. You wrote that they stink. I kind of called it before the beginning of the season that Buffalo would stink,
Yeah,
and they're back with Lindy Ruff, and they still stink.
brutal.
So Buffalo is honestly like brutal. There's no other words to say. It's kind of tough to say. I'm gonna jump to the next point that we had here. I'm gonna skip Bedard. Bedard gets too much attention already in the league. Bedard is already cooking. He doesn't
Sure.
need our fans to know more about him. And if you do know, you can go on Brecky's TikTok. You might see a couple pictures of him lying around. Lane Hudson. The Habs are in distress. As I mentioned, there's a rumors that the Habs are trying to look and pick up a top four defenseman, right-handed, is what the rumors are. Um, why is that? We've had injuries. We've had rookies play 30 minutes. So Lane Hudson, the stud, the Calder potential winner, played 30 minutes in our last game against the LA Kings. Although I'm happy
Crazy.
to see him play a lot and to see that he's able to, um, play for those long minutes, we have to remember he's still a kid. It's his rookie season. We can't overtax him. It cannot be good for his development. It can risk. There's a risk of injuries as the college leagues don't play as many games as the Habs would do. So I'd be excited to see if it's true or not. The rumors might go and pick up a top 4D, but we'll see. But honestly, so far, Lane Hudson is a stud. Cole Caulfield's a stud. Quick plug, 8 goals in 9 games. What a beauty. Um, I'll let you go on to your theory actually that you mentioned. I don't know if you even remember that, but
Yes. No, I
in the
do.
notes it says that Glenn has a theory about how Sawyer getting injured. Please illuminate me.
So, if anyone listening has been to Montreal, you guys would know that there's more potholes than people. And these precious players for the Montreal Canadiens, although they drive nice cars that they probably get for free, I don't think they're weary enough to be avoiding all of these brutal potholes. And let's just say, you know, you got Arbor Jacki. He's ripping it down the Metropolitan for whatever reason, and there's a massive 1 foot pothole. He lands like he just dips right in there. Has to get his tire changed, but you know what else he has to do? Spend 3 hours nursing his neck that he just clenched. You know what I mean? Or another player, their hip could just go dislodge while they're driving on these Montreal roads. So that's why I think last year or the last couple years, the Montreal Canadiens have had the most man games missed in the NHL, and then the upper management think it's the you know all of the physiotherapists and all of these different types of trainers, the heads of whatever. And that's not the problem. You know what the problem is? The fucking roads. They're laundering money through these construction workers, and they have so many cones. Whoever has that company of those massive orange pylons, they are raking in the dough. So that is my theory. What do you think of my theory that these players are driving and getting injured?
I kind of agree with your theory. And like Montreal, in the last couple of years, there has been new arrivals, but I want to add on to your theory. So all these new players, they get here, they get paid, they get their payroll, and the first car they get is a sports car. Those sports car,
Ah,
low on the ground, hard suspensions, so their backs get hit. Like you said, you get a speed bump, your car's low to the ground, the whole car shaft hits the floor, the suspension's not there to help you out, get injured, boom. That's why you see all the veterans. You see the veterans, which car do they drive? Those Escalades, the big SUVs, pumped up on the suspensions. They know about Montreal. But all these new
yeah.
kids coming in, they buy the new sports car, they get hit, and that's how they get injured. So I kind of like it. And that cone company making $1 a day per cone has to be a millionaire every day in Montreal at this point. Like the fact that
It's
Montreal,
crazy.
you walk around, you go to those tourist boutiques here. What do you buy? You get postcards with orange cones all over the city. You get a T-shirt with an orange cone on the city and that says Montreal on it. That's embarrassing. We got to fix that. Valérie Plante announced
Yeah.
that she will not run for a third mandate. No one asked her to do it, so we're
Oh,
very happy that it's not going to happen. And I'm just curious to see because now I have no idea who could be presenting themselves for the near election for the Montreal mayor. So I'm curious to see that, read about it, and honestly, I might just give you guys a spiel next episode. But I know it's not coming soon, so maybe not next episode, but when
who
those
knows?
will come out.
It,
Another question for you, Glenn.
yeah.
No, you go.
No, I think it's Georges St. Pierre that's going to be running for mayor. Um, he's a healthy guy, but he's only going to be doubling down on those bike lanes that Valerie Plante insisted on getting. So there may not even be any cars anymore. Uh, Definitely a cause of concern come the winter, where these bikes just cannot handle it on the Montreal roads. But who the hell knows? Moving on here, you had a question to ask me. Go ahead, shoot it.
Yeah, I had a question, but then I just saw the picture from the meme that you posted in the notes. And once again, we can't post that due to community guidelines. It's not going to be well taken, and the video will be taken down. So we'll skip on next. Um,
Yeah,
I kind of want to call you out. So let's
sure.
talk about our next segment, the buzzer beater bet.
Buzzer beater bet. Ba, 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 ba.
All right. So last week, guys, we both had our first buzzer beater. Oh my God, the buzzer beater bet. Glenn successfully hit his. So we will see it here somewhere on the screen. Glenn's bet, it hit. Mine didn't hit. So Glenn got on a heater. He was 1 for 1. But then he tried to post another buzzer beater bet involving the Maple Leafs. And before I let him explain to
Yeah.
him what BBB rule number 1 is. I'm going to introduce BBB rule number 0. Never, ever, ever do a buzzer beater bet that is not on the podcast. It will always haunt you. Now, I would like to go for you on the rule number 1 now, please.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense because number, BB rule number one is just an extension off of BB rule, BBB rule number zero. Never rely on the Toronto Maple Leafs for a BBB because like you will be ruined. Your night will be ruined. You will lose your money. Um, I shed a lot of tears that night. I had to go to Costco and get some more Kleenex. I don't even want to talk about the parlay. It just nothing hit. Nothing freaking hit because the Toronto Maple Leafs were the center of that bet. So I'm pumped though because we have new bets for this weekend, Saturday. You will see them on the screen here. Hey everyone, $5. Put those bets in, and you will win more money, which then you will just lose on NFL games because no one knows how to bet on those fucking games. Excuse my language.
All right, Glenn. So as you mentioned, our buzzer beater bets will be posted, but we will start something new. So we'll post the results here on the YouTube videos. But to get the actual bets, because it can come close to the date, we never know with injuries and that can affect the bets. We will post them on our Instagram. You can follow us on our Instagram at the Last Buzz Podcast on Instagram. We will be posting our bets there. We'll show it as a screenshot. We'll post it on our stories. So go follow us there. And that can be a lame plug. You can follow us on TikToks as well. Follow us on Twitter. Glenn's the master of the keyboard on Twitter. I'll try to post more reels, more shorts on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube shorts. So you can keep an eye on that. But you'll see the result of our buzzer beater bet on next week's episode of the podcast, and you'll see the bet itself on our socials. So that concludes the buzzer beater bet section. My favorite, to be honest. I worked a long time on this animation. I hope you guys like it. If you like my animation, give us a thumbs up. Click a like on this button. Subscribe. Put the notification bell. Do it like Daniel. Daniel did it. Shout out Daniel. And please leave us a comment on what is your favorite moment of this episode. If it's not the buzzer beater bet, is it the intro? Is it Glenn being dressed as a monk? Is it my protective gear for this week for my gout? Let us know down in the comments below. Before we jump to the F1, I just noticed that you added something else in the notes, which is pretty funny. Honestly, this episode has been pretty well centered around goaltenders. So goaltenders matter. Pay them. You know what? Give Shesterkin his $12 million. What are they going to do without him? Play Jonathan Quick? He'll be 50 years old by the time that they win the Stanley Cup by that point. But talking about goaltenders, Tristan Jarry, you spoke about the Penguins. They had a horrible start. Then Sidney Crosby and Malkin were like, Glenn, keep an eye on us. So Glenn was like, oh, maybe I should keep an eye on them. And then they're terrible again. They're running their goalies. It's two new rookie-ish goalies. They have Nedeljkovic and this other dude that I thought was playing with Colorado because his name is so similar as a Colorado goalie, but it's someone else, Anunen or something like that, Kolonen, Joelsonen. Glenn will give you the proper name afterwards.
One of those
unknowns. Tristan Jarry was sent down to the AHL.
I won't. I don't even know it.
For conditional stints. You don't know it? Well, that's fine. But yeah, so they sent Tristan Jarry down in the AHL for conditional condition purposes. But the fact is that the Penguins are very bad. They should just let him play the NHL, win or lose. At least he'll get his conditioning there. It's an excuse. It's a PR stunt. Save Jarry, pay the man.
Really? That's great. But quickly, before we move on to Formula One, crazy weekend in Formula One, but I brought up to you earlier on the phone that I am coming to Montreal December 20th for 2 weeks during the holidays, and December 21st, Habs have their last home game, I believe, of the season against our boy Christopher Cacciato's favorite team, the Detroit Red Wings. And I think it would be an unreal night, unreal day and night for the podcast and ourselves to eat some vegan sushi, because we all know there's more flavor in that than real sushi. And we go to the game. We spend a bit too much money on Molson X beer. And also, buzzer beater bet special is the Habs in Detroit over on goals. And at the time, we'll decide. Chris will be on Detroit. We will be on Montreal for last goal of the game. Buzzer beater, hopefully in overtime. Early prediction, I'm going to say 5-4 in overtime. Goal scored by Nick Suzuki. Hella in advance. What do you think?
That's a fair call to make. I thought that you were gonna give us every single goal scorer of that game. So for example, 5-4 for Montreal. We got Suzuki, Caulfield, Safkowski, Lane Hudson, and Matthew Madison. And then let's say for Pittsburgh, it would be Crosby, Malkin, Letang, and Carlson. If that happens, I will see what would be the same game party on all those players to score.
Detroit,
And
Detroit,
I'll get back to you. It is Detroit.
Detroit.
See, so I'm gonna cut this whole
You said
sequence like nothing happened. But as I promised, I will not be cutting it. We are trying a new format where you guys can see our fails. It's part of the process. But I do
no,
agree.
yeah. Honestly, we
Surprise to
need
the
to work
boys.
out.
So the trick
See, look,
here,
yeah, like look, guys. No bash on Wave Room, but look, I upgraded my computer. I bought a computer for this. I doubled my internet speed. And I already know your computer and internet's fine. We're just trying to find out a free recording platform, and Wave Room is so laggy, it's brutal. So I have been cutting over Alain's voice, vice versa. I cut him off more just because I'm anxious to get my stupid words in. But be be patient with us because you guys know 1,000 subscribers, we will get the winner a beautiful, slightly less than authentic pro jersey from Fanatics. It'll be just above practice jersey because we all know we have food and rent to pay for. Alain has a mortgage. We can't afford these ridiculous $500 sweaters. Did you see the prices on the Boston Bruins like stadium jerseys? I believe they're 600 US
yeah,
for one jersey. So guys, just bear with us here. We will figure things out. Our tech is up to date. It's just the website or whatever we use to record. But anything else you want to say hockey wise before we jump into F1 quick?
nothing. I have
Nice.
nothing.
LA
My
has
camera's
nothing.
out of focus. But yeah, just quickly, yeah, we'll try to do something better. That's why you guys have been seeing, for those who are watching, there's a lot of cuts in the episode. It's because we're just constantly lagging. We're doing the best we can. Shout out to both of our computers. Shout out to both of our cameras. But shout out to Wave Room. What the hell's happening? But we'll be
Yeah.
back. We'll keep handling that. And yeah, it was kind of tough on Wave Room at the beginning of the episode. Sorry, Wave Room. Don't ban us. We still need you until we find something else. Okay, that's it. That's the end of the point on Wave Room. Please, Glenn, tell me about what happened at the Mexican Grand Prix. I saw a few highlights, but give me a rundown of the event, please.
Mexican Grand Prix. Sergio Perez. Millions in attendance slash watching. This guy just absolutely shit the bed at his home race. Look, guys, he's one of the two drivers in Red Bull. He should be top 6 every race. But for whatever reason, Red Bull has been struggling the last few weeks, but the whole season, Sergio Perez just has not been up to his standards that we have seen in the past. Like, we know he's a good driver. I just think he has very little confidence right now. So, just starting the race, okay? I believe Sergio Perez was, bumped out of Q1. So he's starting at the back, okay? Mexican Grand Prix has a massive stretch to start the race. It's like a 1 kilometer straight before the first turn to the right. Okay. You
Okay.
have to park at a certain position in your starting grid. This poor bastard parked just a bit too forward. Okay. He had a great start. Great start. He went up like 5 positions or something crazy like that. But his race engineer, was on the microphone telling him, "Hey, we are under investigation for a false start." Sergio Perez, what does he say right away? No, 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 that was a great start. Great start. Yes, Sergio, like, it was a great start, but you parked your car past the line where you're supposed to. So that was one thing. And then later on in the race, very scrappy, like overtakes between him and Liam Lawson.
Yep.
Liam Lawson, okay, this guy this guy's an absolute savage. You want to know why? He was ripping it
Tell me.
330 kilometers per hour on a straight. And what does he do? He flips the middle finger in Sergio Perez's face. How epic is that? Like, honestly, sign him 80 years. 80 years in Formula One. He deserves it. Um, yeah, like that was absolutely insanity. But honestly, like besides that, Sergio Perez, the fans, I just feel so bad for the fans, but like they're cheering him on every single turn. And near the end of the race, he's desperate for a point, right? Because he's in like, I don't know, 12th at the time.
Yeah.
You know what his whole pit crew, they're like, "Oh, Sergio, pit for fastest lap attempt." I actually laughed when I heard that because we all know
Okay.
Sergio, you ain't getting fastest lap, bud. You're not getting the fastest lap. It went to my boy Charles Leclerc, and
Yeah.
Sergio finished in last place at his home race. Like, I just can't do it with this guy anymore. Like,
Yeah, you've
please
been pretty
replace him.
hard on Paris since like the
Please.
beginning of the season. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Fuck yeah.
pretty crazy. Like you said, shout out to Saints for winning. I saw an interview
Yeah.
today. You mentioned like he really wanted to win at least one more before his end with Ferrari. So like very happy for him. Somehow Verstappen and Norris had a smile on the podium, even though they were absolute savages once again on the track. Like just two of them together. Thank God for Liam Lawson for adding some spice into the Grand Prix. But it's been a treat to see more battles. Seeing a bit of animosity on the field. You know, like I saw the event. Like Liam Lawson was just like straight up confused as to why Perez was like trying to cut him off and like hold on to his decision, and then Perez absolutely clueless, just insulting Liam Lawson. I gotta give him that, even though he replaced my boy Danny Rick. He's entertaining. We need that in the
Yeah.
F1. If you replace an
We
entertainer
need
by another entertainer, I'm happy. And if this middle finger gives him a longer career in the F1 than Alonso, then you know he's the GOAT. But I'll give sometimes. Can you please give us the info that you said on multi winners this year in the F1?
Yes, so I saw on X that this is the first season in over 40 years that there has been six multi-winners in one season, which is remarkable. I believe the numbers are Lando Norris and Verstappen with 3 wins, and then you got Leclerc, Sainz, Hamilton, and Piastri each with 2 wins, and it's making a very interesting, um, standings for not only the drivers' championship but the constructors' championship. Ferrari placing first and third this race. They overtook Red Bull for the second place in the constructors' championship, and with Leclerc almost crashing his car with maybe 7 laps left, that opened the door easily for Lando Norris. He got that many more points, and he's approaching Verstappen. I believe the margin is between like 48 and 55 points, maybe even more. I don't know. I'm not a mathematician here, but 5 races left in the season. This is making it super exciting for the Drivers' Championship and Constructors. So overall, it's been an absolute great season for F1, and I'm happy I
Yeah,
spent the $100 on the F1 premium subscription. It's
yeah,
awesome.
facts. I'll add on to that that I like you name the winners and it's all the big names. I think every year usually there's maybe one or two guys in the year that is like let's say usually in the mid of the pack that wins a Grand Prix, whether it's because of rain, because of bad temperatures, bad accident. But this year you see the top teams are performing except for Perez. Everyone else is performing that's supposed to be performing. So I'm curious to see if we'll get an end of season that will be exciting, of course, because the race for the the drivers championship and the team's championship. So curious to see if something will happen with that, but also I'm curious to see if someone else like out of the blue, who knows, like maybe Lawrence Stroll is going to win a Grand Prix by the end of the season. Who knows? So that's what I'm looking for.
South.
It'll be interesting. Sound, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Before I
Yeah,
conclude
man.
the episode, Glenn, I think we're at the end point. Is there something else you want to add before I let our beautiful family here go?
No, there's honestly nothing I want to add other than I want this recording experience to be much more fluid, and we will get there, guys. Just be patient.
Yeah,
We are noobs at this. Alain is an absolute beast with the editing. He's making these episodes look so much better than what the recording process is. But enough of that. Alain, what do you have to
yes,
say
sir.
to our massive fan base before we let them go?
We'll keep it short here. If you like this episode, if you reach all the way here, like, comment, and subscribe. If you reach here, please write down the word tulip in the comments to see who are the real goats. Don't forget, by subscribing, you'll be one of the first 1,000 people to subscribe to the channel. We'll win a draft. You'll win a Fanatics jersey, not the pro ones, but above the practice level. Completely free, no purchase necessary. It's just gonna be a fun little raffle, a random name drawn for the winner. Other than that, like Glenn said, uh, you know, we're trying to find something better and more consistent. We appreciate you guys. And on that note, thank you for watching. Bye.